Welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records of cash. We laughing, we drafting the passion to vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Conscious is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, passing it. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
Got a froggy morning throat. Good morning, Katie Rubin.
Good morning. Morning from Seattle. Wake up, Seattle. Welcome, Seattle. What was the Frasier
Wake up,
show?
Seattle. I don't know. That sounds like it could be a show.
Did you ever watch Frasier?
Yeah, but was he a morning
I
show?
think it's Good Morning. Good morning, Seattle. I'm listening was his tagline, but I don't remember
Oh,
if it's
yeah.
Good Morning, Seattle or not.
Frasier.
Because we're in Seattle right now, I was like, let's watch an episode of Frasier tonight. It did not hold up.
You know, I think we've talked about this before, but Rami and I had a sort of like named a problem, a dramatic problem after the show Frasier that you identify as like a storytelling method. Which is, oh, great. It's another episode where someone makes a stupid judgment call and then out of pride buries himself deeper. And I'm supposed to care that he get out of this problem when it's completely his fault. And it's just his asshole male pride that's causing it to continue to become more of a problem. And about half of his episodes were based on that premise.
Okay, then here's a question. Well, I think I just got the answer, but let's ask it anyway. That structure has existed forever. Like House, I'm thinking about the television program House. Did you ever watch House?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now stay with me for a second. I'm going to make a case. We could say Frasier is like a bumbling narcissist.
Yeah.
Who like does stupid comedic shit because he's so self-involved that he can't see past his own nose.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're supposed to care, like you're saying. But then you look at House, and he's like a genius, brooding, negative narcissist so it's a drama. It's not a comedy.
Yeah.
Right? But in his case, it's like because he's so brilliant, everyone puts up with his nonsense.
Yeah.
Right? Which is basically what we call patriarchy. Like that's the patriarchy right there, right? It's like, look at his mental brilliance. We'll allow him to be a douchebag because of how intelligent he is.
Well, that goes to our conversation about Elon Musk a few weeks ago.
Oh, God. That was just me being ignorant about Elon Musk.
Yeah, but the starting point is the same thing. But then to be revealed, like, oh, no, it turns out not true. But that is why he is revered for the same reason until someone is dipped to his idiocy. Right. And in House's case, it is fictional, obviously. But I don't have that same like, oh, God. I think it's when it's used for comic effect that I
bristle.
I mean, House is very funny, but it's sort of the comedy isn't based on the conundrum.
Well, he's not bumbling.
Right.
He's not hapless.
Hapless.
That's the Cassidy adjective for all characters you play.
Yeah.
But he's not bumbling around like, what's happening? Why is this crazy mystery in front of me?
Yeah, he knows what's happening and he's causing it to happen and he's in charge of it.
But House is solving a problem.
Yeah, and why do I not hate him? I don't know.
Because that's what I'm getting at. If you hear me, House is solving a problem with his talent while being an asshole with his personality.
Yeah.
Whereas Frasier's personality is creating a problem that then somebody else has to help him solve.
Right.
Which I think puts people puts Roz, the female, secondhand, and the Daphne, these women, and let's be real, Niles, the gay man,
right,
in a position to help him understand himself, his little baby, narcissistic white guy shit.
And he doesn't know he's an asshole.
Right.
He thinks he's just a wonderful human who's...
Right. And House is like, yeah, I'm an asshole. Deal with me, but I'm solving problems. I'm not making problems for you. However, it's not true because he makes problems all the time. They're just a different kind of problem. Like he solves the person's health problem like nobody else can, but creates a bunch of political, social, relational problems along the way.
Yeah.
So I guess that's part of why. Does that land? How does that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it all makes sense. I think it's also the difference. Yeah, it's different styles of comedy. That's interesting because I just saw a clip of Anthony Jeselnik.
Yep.
You know him? And
Yeah.
so for those who don't know, he is a comedian whose persona, not personality, but his persona is he's the villain.
Right.
He is an asshole. He makes jokes about very obviously about like he punches down, but in a way that is saying, I'm punching down, you guys. Hate me for it. And then laugh at the brilliant structure of my jokes.
I would argue he punches down, in the middle, and up.
Yeah, he punches in every direction.
Yeah.
While taking on the mantle of being an asshole. Anyway, he was saying when he first started doing comedy, people just hated him.
Yeah.
Right away. Because he said, as he said, because this is his personality, everyone else was just a not quite as good looking version of him on the bill. So all he was the best looking version of everybody else who was on the bill. So he was immediately disliked.
That's true. I think that's
true. So he said, well, I guess that's what I will be. And he embraced it and became the villain and created his persona around that.
So interesting.
If you're going to dislike me, I'm going to embrace being disliked and do that, which is smart. He says, I'll never be a Disney actor, but oh well.
That's like the villain's journey, the hero's journey, the villain's journey.
And the villain's journey, yeah.
In every villain movie, in every Marvel movie, right? We have a villain who's like, oh, you think I'm a nerdy scientist? I'll become an evil
nerdy scientist.
Yeah. Wow.
Truth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's fun to look at, like, that makes me think about, this has come up a few times in the past week, the forces of light and dark that are actually, the reason the Marvel movies resonate, I think, with culturally and why they're such a big deal. Obviously, like, people like a superhero or whatever. But I think it's more than that. It's the light versus dark thing. It's the evil trying to overcome light and light trying to win out over evil, good, dark, good, bad. It's because these forces are, like, according to all the teachers of all the things, they literally create the fabric of the universe. The fabric of the universe is held together by the tension of opposites, as it's said in the Jungian perspective, which is to say, if you don't have evil, you can't have light. So then you have no things.
Right.
You could have all light, and that would be the angelic realm. And then there would be no humans, and there would be no earth. There would be no density. There'd be no gravity. There'd be no other planets. I personally sometimes don't understand why bother, but that's a separate.
Right. Because then on the other hand isn't the sort of goal of almost all paths to reach Satori or whatever, to reach nirvana, to reach the realm of light.
Not according to, that was, if you recall from our earlier discussion about the human design perspective, about all the old spiritual systems. Like, the human design perspective says everything, all the old Buddhism, Taoism, Catholicism, divine light transmission work, light workers, all of it has been headed towards something like that. Whereas he's saying this is not what it's about anymore. In fact, that idea takes people off the track of their purpose and their fulfillment and their whatever they're here to experience. That in fact, we're here to create. And if you're going to create, you can't be transcending good, bad, right, wrong, the duality that holds the fabric together. You have to embrace the fabric and work within its structure to create what your specific vehicle is here to create.
Right.
So no, Satori is not, transcendence, bliss, oneness, whatever is really not the goal anymore, according to the new teachers of the new philosophical da-da-das. But try to convince, everybody's still reading all the books from the past. Not everybody, but like a lot of people. It's part of why I want to do this is I want to be talking about the new stuff because somebody needs to. Or not, but I mean, I'd like to, because I feel like it's important for people to know.
Yeah.
There's another way to hold it. Like, what if you don't have to transcend yourself? What if it's about integration? I think the Jungians were onto something long ago, and their work really matches with like the new sort of principles, which say you want to integrate everything that's causing a problem for you so that you become whole. And then when you're whole, it's easier to live correctly as yourself. But that's very not transcendent, right?
Right. And I mean, even, please correct me because I am wrong. Like I'm thinking about like my very layman's understanding of, say, Buddhism, the goal, even if the goal is transcendence, it's not actually the goal for 99.9% of the practitioners. The pathway is toward that, but it's not actually that. Only a couple of people actually transcend, and they're needed to pull the rest of us through the system. But the system is actually still there to integrate a human, and as opposed to transcend.
Well, that depends on the strain of Buddhism you're talking about, and it depends on the teacher of Buddhism you're working with,
Right.
and it depends on your personal goals and your understanding, because Buddhism, capital B, is like, so we speak about it broadly like it's one thing, but it's
Right.
like saying, Christianity is one thing.
Right.
You realize like Catholicism is pretty different from Methodistism.
Say that again.
Methodism.
Methodicalism.
I'm just like, man, I'm very impressed with the Jungians from long ago because it was so long ago. Jung came around, in response to Freud, kind of, or maybe not in response to Freud, but he was teaching and speaking in response to Freud because of timing. And then Freud first happened. And then there was Jung realizing his own shit. And they really understood this notion that everything that feels like a separate aspect of self, this part of me wants to do this, but this other part of me wants to do that. Everything that feels like there are these parts of self, like they're all asking to be integrated to become this one self. That was a radical idea at the time, because Freud was kind of saying, if you think about it, like everyone wants to fuck their mother because that's what our psyches do. And that's the problem of all reality,
Right.
But Jung was like, take it a step further. The part of you that wants to fuck your mother, let's deal with that part. And what happens then? And then a new thing can happen once you integrate that part. People are so just not thinking about integration. So I wish my dream is that all modern therapists would have to teach people about the idea of becoming whole and integrated and help clients understand. I've always felt this about therapy. Like when you enter therapy, I think there should be a manual, and it should be like, here's what we're heading toward.
Yeah.
Here's how we're going to go there. Here are the tools we're going to use and the way this is going to work and why I'm going to ask you what I'm going to ask you. And here's how my role in it, and here's your role in it. We're going to work together with me supporting you to get to this thing over here, which we're going to call wholeness, integration, and empowerment for you. But they don't hand you the manual. They just show up and go, and what brings you here today?
Or you have the guy who doesn't even do that. I still have my nightmare of the worst therapist on the fucking planet.
Tell us again. I forget. Tell me that again.
Here, I will.
I'm ready.
I will.
Can I be you?
I will set the tone. Sure. You be me. This is perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Have a seat right there.
Hi.
And
Thank you.
just to let you know, any, I have just sort of HIPAA stuff here. I have to let you know that, anything you share here is, of course, completely held in confidence unless you threaten to harm yourself or others, in which case I am required to report it.
Okay, great. So do you want me to start? Should I just start talking, or were you gonna say other words?
Do you need me to say other words? And let's just extend that out about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50, 40, 50. I might have said more than he did. Yep.
What are some examples of things you said? Now I'm going to be him because I get him now.
Well, I guess, just as first time in therapy. So just getting in here, just wanting to figure out what mostly what I've been dealing with lately is a lot of sort of like circling thoughts, like repeating the same thought over and over and over and getting obsessed with an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you make a noise? Oh.
That's too much, right?
That's too much.
Wow. So not helpful.
Oh,
exactly
God.
My point.
Until I demanded something, and then he just responded with, how would it help you for me to respond?
I want to push him off a cliff.
I want to murder him.
Yeah. The thing about that is, I just want to say that this is a good topic. What he's doing there is this kind of black and white extremist version of the baseline principle of therapy, which is like, just be an open container into which the client brings themselves and then respond. Don't try to direct the river.
Right.
Now, that is such an annoying, extreme version of that there's no support, there's no containment, there's no help,
Yeah.
there's no guidance, there's no one there. You may as well stay home.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh,
I had a therapist kind of like that too, and we had a few sessions where I was like, "Hey, so I actually need from you a little guidance and direction. I need like your opinion that might be different from mine, or some pushback, or a suggestion, or a question, and I gave her examples. I was like coaching her in how to therapize me.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, okay. She was really like surprised and curious and all right, that's okay. And then I came back the next week, none of that happened. And I was like, could we look at the idea of the whole thing from last week of questions or pushback? And she was like, oh, sure. What do you think about that? And I was like, ugh. And finally I realized like, I need a different personality type.
Yeah.
Like she was just fully disappearing into the room. And I was like, nah, I need something to work with to like, so we could say, oh no, it's not quite that, but it's this. And oh, good point. And no, I hadn't thought of that. Anything.
Yeah. I don't understand what your years of training brought you to.
Right. Your years of training were to get silenter. Fuck off.
Yeah, fuck right off. Now, to our earlier discussion about like the framework of how it should be, or it would be nice if it were, I do want to literally, I believe that is the idea of integration being the goal.
Yeah.
is exactly why psychosynthesis, which is the practice that my mom is involved with.
Yeah.
It's in the name.
Right.
Synthesis, psychosynthesis. It's all about integrating the splintered self, all the subpersonalities, all the pieces of, and like that's what Roberto Assagioli apparently was probably responding to. It was probably a direct off of Jungian. It's probably
not Jungian. That's not Jungian.
Well, Jungian's taking it farther than Freud.
Yeah.
And taking it into a more transpersonal spiritual realm.
And the archetypes are present, and it starts like Jungianism sort of starts the road to IFS, the parts work that's now popular.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But you're right in that there wasn't like in the practice of it, they didn't know yet how to teach people how to work with parts of self.
Yeah.
But the parts were being taught at least in the conceptual layer. Like if you read a Jungian book, they'd be like, here are these archetypes that show up. And at least there was that. But yeah. They weren't, like I said, there wasn't a fucking manual, and there should be. There should be.
Also, when you show up for your very first session of anything, you've never done therapy before, and no one's there to be like, all right, let's set some goals and some fucking understandings and some agreements about how we're going to work together and what do you want out of this?
This reminds me, have you ever seen the documentary Stutz?
No, that's the one. He's the therapist for that actor.
Jonah Hill.
For Jonah Hill.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. It's good shit. So Stutz is his last name. I can't remember his first name now. The therapist
doctor.
Yeah, has a like a set of tools that he teaches people for like how to deal with yourself. And he spends the documentary sort of drawing these little cute pictures, these charming images of like, yourself is here, and then your ego's here, and then your da-da-da. And he teaches people. And so you go through Jonah Hill. It's a cool documentary because Jonah Hill starts by being like, we're not going to talk about me at all. I'm sick of myself. I want to hear about you, Stutz. You've been my therapist a while. We're going to make a documentary about you and your life, and then also about your work. I want people to know about your work. So he goes in and he starts to make that documentary, and pretty quickly into it, it starts to fall apart and he can't figure out why. So he says that on camera. He's like, so the film isn't working. They're on camera. He's like, this isn't working. There's nothing. I don't know what. And then Stutz is like, is it possible that maybe we have to talk about you?
Yeah.
And he was like, God damn it. Yes, we have to talk about me. So he gets into himself, and then all of a sudden the movie starts to work.
Interesting. Because
it was like he was trying to hide himself. He was trying to be like the documentarian that's not part of the narrative. But he realized that the whole point of the film he was trying to make was to show how the work works.
Right.
But in order to show how the work works, you have to do the work in front of people.
Right.
And then he realized the real reason he wasn't showing the work is he just didn't want to expose his shit.
Right.
And then he started to expose his shit. And then the movie gets really fucking cool because Stutz uses his specific tools with Jonah Hill on Jonah Hill's stuff. And then my perspective is you start to benefit from the vulnerability of the share. Oh my God, to wit. That brings me to like this experience I had last night that I want to tell you about. But do you have anything to say before I go there?
No, I'm interested in that movie, especially because Jonah Hill had a bit of a downfall after that because of some weird tweet or something, not tweet, but like a girlfriend, an ex shared the way in which he was trying to control her. And it was gross.
Oh, really? How?
Yeah,
What? How?
I'm trying to remember. It was like, you can't have, he was basically, doing the thing where he was saying, here's how you have to be if you're my partner. You have to not have your own wants or desires. You can't, I don't want a girl who wants to go out dancing because that means that she wants to be seen by other people and I can't have, or something. I'm not remembering it exactly, but it was that super controlling, jealous, must own you. But it was framed as you have free will, but you have to agree to this if you want to be with me.
Ew. I wonder if that was before his therapy?
Maybe it was a pre thing. I wonder.
Or if he just hasn't gotten there yet. He's working on it.
It's still a giant ego.
Last night, I'm going to think about how to tell this story in a way that protects the innocent. Let me just think about this a second. Okay, I was leading a group of clients, through a very small group, through some processing around how to move forward with various things. And I'm gonna change the details of the situation very much so that there's no way that anyone could ever infer anything about knowing who anybody is.
Great.
So know that the specifics of the details I'm saying are not the story. The story is like the content. So anyway, there were like 5 people there, and each one of them this will often happen in a healing class. A theme shows up for the day. So the way I run the thing is like, by design, I just go like, okay, we're going to process people's, in this particular class, the class is about processing and integrating. It's the Star Beings class. So I go, okay, usually I'll talk a little and then I'll go, who wants to start talking about what you're here to process today? Mm-hmm. And the first person, the theme that showed up, the shortest way to tell the story was the defenses we have that keep us from admitting how bad the past actually was. Or in certain other people's case in the class, the defenses we have that keep us from admitting how bad the present actually is. And when you can't admit how bad the past was or how bad the present is, you can't heal it. You can't change it.
Right.
We talk about this all the time. You got to go into the feelings. And everybody wants to think positively on top of the feelings.
Right.
Which is a good survival tool for your day-to-day life. But it is a bad tool for trying to actually integrate something, meaning process the pain that part is holding so that part becomes unified with the rest and there is no separate part anymore. There's just oneness.
Yeah.
Okay, there's just wholeness. There's no separate part fighting against the other parts. So something happened for me in the class where it was person after person after person they would share a thing. I would reflect back, oh, so it's this bad. And they would say, it does seem to be that bad. I can't actually feel that, but it is, you're right. It was that bad. Good point. And I'd be like, cool, you ready how about we feel into that? And they'd be like, I can't.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what do you mean? I just can't get there. I just try and I'd be good. And it was like, it was one of those weeks where my experience of it was like week after week after week after week after week, you come here and you still can't feel into how bad it was or how bad it is. You can't and you won't. And it broke me. It broke my heart in a way where I just had to have my own process around it after. I had to be like, I am devastated and heartbroken about how hard it is for humanity to be with how hard it is to be people.
Mm-hmm.
People won't be with how hard it is. They won't. They just won't. And it's because of the defenses that keep us alive. So there's this paradox about being alive. In order to stay alive, you have to not admit how hard it is to be alive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
In order to grow while being alive, or heal or integrate while being alive and function at a higher frequency of aliveness, you've got to admit how bad it is to be alive, how hard it is, how painful it is.
Yeah.
Each piece of pain has to be met with in order to fully integrate. But the number of people I interact with who aren't after that and who are like, yeah, I see that that's relevant, but I can't, I won't, I'm not gonna. And it wasn't even, these were not people who were like, I don't wanna and fuck off. And they're not like, fuck you. They're not, and they're not, this was the even harder part. They're not unconscious of their defenses. They're aware of them. They're like, yeah. See that? There they are. And then week after week after week after week, they just don't dive into them. And so then their life doesn't change and they keep coming back.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, a lot of times I made a joke last night in this healing class. I said, I'd like to bully each of your defenses. I'd like to grab them by the neck, shake them around, throw them against the wall, make them pass out so that you can, the essence of you could just be free. And I made a joke like, here I am trying to bully your defenses. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But I made a joke about it because I was aware in the moment that I was having a really hard time with it. And then we got off the thing and I was talking with Eric about it. And I had my own process around like, I am so heartbroken about like, oh, these people I love so much. I've been with them a long time. I care about them. It's like, people don't stay in my practice that I don't really care about. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't. And so I just love these people so much. And to see them like stopping themselves, aware they're stopping themselves, not go into the pain, unable to go into the pain, not even resist, just can't. I was like, what is this double bind for humanity that consciousness has people in? What a weird agreement we make to come into a form where the nature of the form is, in order to survive the form, you're going to have to go into denial about the reality of the form. But by the way, that denial will cause all the problems you have.
Will cause more pain. I mean, I deeply resonate with all those people in your class. Not, you've experienced it with me, on some levels for sure. And usually we can push through after a little finagling, but I deeply resonate because it's not actual to me, like to say they're being resistant, which you didn't say, but like if one were to say, oh, well, they're just being resistant. No, because that implies a willfulness,
right?
Or an unwillingness. Like the will is strong, but the flesh is weak thing where like my will is like, yeah, I feel, okay, I'm going to feel it. I want to feel this. I see the defense. There it is. Feel. Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, it's so frustrating. And it's frustrating. It's got to be maddening to the light worker who's sitting there going, you see it too, because you're inside of it going, yeah, it's right there. See that wall? I see it. There's a big brown smudgy wall. What are you doing? Go ahead and open that door.
The other thing too, that's comedy, like you're saying, it's like, I have so many tools now to help people feel into their shit. I mean, I'm like walking around with like what are they called? Preppers, guys who are like prepping for the end of the world.
Yeah.
And they have those like elaborate vests and backpacks and they're in like a truck that's like 60 feet above the ground. And they have spikes coming out of the wheels of the truck.
Yeah.
They just got all the tools. I got a backpack, I got a vest. I could open this pocket and I got 12 tools for you. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter.
Oh, because what I want is you to come to me as the practitioner person, whatever the word you use, with a big fucking
magic wand,
a blast. Clearly a wand isn't enough. I need you to have a light bazooka,
right?
Like a rail gun of joy and love that just like a fire hoses. And I need you to just come in and do it and knock it aside because clearly I don't have the ability to deal.
Now, you know what's interesting about that? Because there's a really good point to be, and I'm sorry I stood up while you were talking. I'm freezing all of a sudden, so I'm just going to put this sweater on. Is when I used to, it's so interesting. I used to do my sessions kind of like that. I would say to people, close your eyes, breathe, feel into the center of your body. Now I'm going to blast you with a fire hose of light. Get ready. and it would force the pain up.
Yeah.
I used to do that with people, and I'd be like, no, don't talk. I don't want to hear you. I don't need your narrative about what you think is happening. We're going to blast you with light, and then you're going to feel what comes up, and that's it. And it kind of worked for a while and for a number of people. The problem was I started to understand, God, there's a lot of problems with that. But the point being, the long and short of it is, it doesn't actually work that well in the end. And it's very draining for me. Like, to just fire hose people with a ton of light. It's kind of like, I have a friend who does work like that, where you walk in the room and his frequency is so high and he's just transmitting divine light that your stuff comes up, and then you process it with him. But you still, even with him, if you're not me, the kind of weirdo I am, people walk in and their defenses come up. They're like, it hurts. But no, I'm fine. And he's just like working behind the scenes, standing there, moving his hands around, waving at you, being like, uh-huh. And he's just pulling layers off and bringing light. But you can still be defended, not the kind of defense where the douchey kind, but just like normal survival defenses. And then the light can't get to anywhere you won't go. It just can't. So even if you can fire hose people, they never learn about their defenses. They don't learn how to be with themselves, how to work with their stuff, how to be empowered. They think like, well, the solution is just keep going to John, the guy who fire hoses me.
Right.
And that's all I know about reality, when it's like, no, you've got to understand the workings of yourself in order to work with yourself. Unless your MO as a healer has nothing to do with teaching people anything, which is fine. There's plenty of healers who are just like, hi, I blast Reiki at you now. Have a great day. I can't personally, I just don't.
You need them to be involved in the process more, because otherwise they're not, they need to integrate themselves. It's not, you can't just rip out the rotted flesh without them being involved in it somehow.
Well, they just keep coming back and getting more light and nothing. They don't learn anything. They don't wake up. They don't see their patterns. They don't know themselves. So it doesn't actually do the kind of service that I want to do. If I'm going to do service for people about change and healing and integration and activation, I want to actually help people actually do that, instead of just being like, fire hose of light.
Well, I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with chiropractors. And people who don't really know chiropractors well will say like, well, then you just are addicted to chiropractic. And there are some chiropractors for whom that is true. They just show up, crack your back. You got to come back next week, get your back cracked, because now you always have to get your back cracked.
Yep, totally.
But you're not involved with your own process of mastery of your body.
Yeah, for sure.
So a good chiropractor is also going to be like, okay, I'm cracking your back. It's the same every week.
Right.
In the same spot. So let's do some exercises that you need to do to take care of your muscles.
Yeah, or like, because like with Lisa, she's a chiropractor.
Yeah.
But she was like, wait, all the chiropractic I do is really emotional for people. And if I don't integrate the emotional layer, their back just goes to the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. So that's how she got into all the wizard shit she's into, is that like chiropractic became like that. She realized like, okay, sometimes you got to crack someone's back. But not every time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you got to move the energy that's creating the need for the back to be cracked.
Right.
Which means you got to feel the feelings, which means you need a tool. So she applies the tool of NET, and then blah, 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 blah. So anyway, last night, then I had a whole process for myself, and then I was all sad about humanity. And then I was like touching into a part of my heart that's like very resigned, a lot of resignation, a lot of like, well, nobody gets it, so fuck it. I'm just going to move furniture around,
Yeah.
I don't care. Okay, they won't see it. I give up.
Right.
And then I was like, oh.
That's not the right.
Oh. And then I was feeling into my resignation, and that's part of my spine that was carrying resignation. And then it was like, oh, I'm actually quite sad. Behind resignation is, of course, our best friend, grief. She's everywhere. So then I was just sad, did a lot of crying, sad, humanity, so sad, humanity can't do its thing it needs to do. And then I felt relief. And now I'm like, well, the revelation that I've had many times as layers of this work themselves out through me is, let's say you tell a story to a group of 50 people. You do a solo show about consciousness and you teach deep transformational tools in it, like I want to do. And
yeah,
You share deep insights and you cry and you're talking to 50 people. 6 of them get something out of it. 44 of them go, what a cool performer. It's about her. No, you idiot. I was fucking talking to you, you dumb fuck. 4 people, 6 people get something out of it. You still helped 6 people and you planted a seed for the other 44.
The other 44. That's the whole.
And that is a hard ratio to invest
Also,
in.
good job on the immediate arithmetic you just did. It was very fast. You didn't even have to think. You said 6 and 44. Like, that's good.
Basic math, nailed it.
Nailed it.
Anything past 0 to 10, I'm out.
Good with arithmetic.
So it's hard. That's like the challenge of my entire life, is to figure out ways to keep giving a shit. And like, again, there's no figuring out.
Why that cracks me up. But that's deep. I feel like that's our struggle as artists. It's our struggle in everything.
Right.
Figuring out ways to keep giving a shit.
Well, isn't it the thing we're up against politically right now?
Yeah.
How do any of us give a shit to vote?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Because you're like, well, what's the point, or whatever, or like, does it or is it? I mean, the excitement of the last 48 hours at least is excitement.
Say more about that.
Well, Biden dropping out of the race, and then probably, basically anointing Kamala Harris, who, we could debate back and forth about the good, bad of that. But all I'm talking about in this case is there was this sense of sort of impending energetic around it all.
Yeah.
Kind of,
right.
I mean, kind of going along with our sense of what was happening to the president is this sort of energetic decline. This sort of slow slide into death and just sort of sludginess, just sort of this
well,
and now
he's dying because he's old.
He's old, and that's okay, but he shouldn't. Right. But then also, wanting to be like, but he did say he was still in it to win it, so I'm gonna care. I want that because I don't want this other fucking guy. So I don't care. I didn't, and it was feeling not like I'm angry, but like I didn't care. I was faking any kind of enthusiasm or passion, which I didn't have. I wasn't hardly faking that. So anyway, him just doing something, which was shifting the gears and saying, you know what, it's true. I'm out. I need you to step aside.
That makes you feel excited.
It re-engages the gears.
I see.
I think is all it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is now we can debate about, is she the right choice? Is she good, bad, good? Yes, all the things. But I actually, and I know that Trump is terrified because of it, because he can't.
Really?
He can't debate her.
He can't?
Well, they had their whole machine lined up about Trump, about Biden, and he has his talking points. I mean, he will. Apparently he said he wouldn't. So that's funny. Interesting.
Okay. So,
but I'm not even really getting to the meat of the thing, but I'm just simply talking energetically. The change, the decision was made, and now we're at least like interested again.
Yeah. What do you think about the idea of? I'm saying this because I would like to think about this differently. Okay. I'm like capital D, capital U, capital H, capital Y, capital E, capital S. Duh. Yes. Kamala forever.
Right.
Okay. That's me personally. Duh. Yes. Okay. That's me.
Yeah.
But do we think the world we live in America, the electorate, the people that vote, are ready to pick her over him more so than they were ready to pick Biden over him?
That's where the energy thing is where my gut response is yes, because we'd reached a point where we had actually wrung out the, he's the best man for the job narrative. And that sponge had gone dry. But
a non-white female.
Yeah. So my gut, and this is a pretty uninformed response, is that that's not going to lose any people who were going to vote who are definitely already going to vote for Biden.
Right, but that's not the issue.
We're not going to lose votes.
Uh-huh.
The question is
Swing
always
people.
going to be who, and I don't even think it was people who are deciding whether they'd vote for Trump or Biden. I don't fucking think those people exist.
Mm.
And if they do, who the fuck are you?
Mm-hmm.
It's the people who are going to say, I'm going to show up and vote or not.
I see.
That's my gut. I have no idea. I can't believe that there are people sitting there going, I might vote for this guy.
Right.
Who is extremely something, or I might vote for this guy who's a different thing entirely. Like, I don't understand. I understand why people are voting for Trump. I think.
Hold on. If I may, I need to hold on.
Yeah.
There are people who like, those people exist because this is shocking to me. But there are people who are trying to be nuanced right now about who should, as if it matters at all who's on the blue side, as if it matters at all. Like, if you got another fascist, that would matter.
Yeah.
But another like malignant narcissistic fascist, if we had one of those, we should be nuanced.
Yeah.
But people who are trying to be nuanced about, like, I have friends, very, very liberal friends who are like, we're not going to vote for Biden in the primary to send him a message.
Right.
About his choices. I was like, what? You don't get, this is a Hitler moment.
Right. Well, the primaries don't matter anyway, apparently. So, right.
Right. But you think your message is going to get through to Biden because you and your three friends? I don't know, man. I know that's cynical, but
right.
Like, it's also practical. Because I'm like, just everybody blue. Just push the button that is blue. It's very simple. Like, that's how I feel about it. So I don't get.
Yeah. And I know a lot of like super radical progressive anarchist folk who will be like, are you fucking kidding me? Look at how horrible this guy is and what he supports. And Kamala Harris is a prosecutor. She's a cop. She's basically a cop. And so why would we put a cop in as the president? Well, president's kind of the ultimate cop. So, I mean, you're already joining that system.
Okay. So this does bring up so it begs the question, because if you say like, oh, she's a cop, don't pick her. If we're nuanced about it right now.
Yeah.
It begs the question. So what you're saying is, if you're going to be nuanced in this conversation at this moment with Trump as the option.
Yeah.
You're basically saying you want the whole structure to fall apart. Which I think any of us with any liberal leanings who have thought hard about anything, you could see like, it would be better if we had a whole new structure.
Yeah.
This bipartisan shit doesn't work.
Yeah.
The idea of the binary doesn't work. Like, we need to destroy the whole system. And like, a lot of people are saying it is being destroyed. Like, Gen Z people are destroying it. Like, and thank God. But my question is, today, do you want to deal with, do you think you can collapse the entire system today? And then, okay, if you can, B, are you ready to deal with what that is going to look like in your 3D life every day now? We live in a revolutionary, it's all gone, there are no protections state while we figure some new structure out. Like, I don't think people understand what it looks like when a building falls down. One building, 9/11, 2 buildings, 3 buildings fell down.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the years and decades long implications of 3 buildings that fell down. Now you want to take all the buildings down.
Yeah.
Metaphorically. Okay, I agree in an abstract way. Correct. It's all fucked. Let's take it down. But you want to be around?
Right.
You want to deal with that right now? Is that what you have energy for?
And yeah, I very much understand the feeling of like, also, the Democrats are just money and they're just all the things too. And they do this bad stuff and it's true.
Yeah.
And yet on a more
practical,
on a more granular level, the fact is your message of, let's burn it all down really just elects Trump. That's it. Like, your message of burn it all down elects Trump. Make no, and if that's what you want, cool. Then say that. And then Trump gets in, and then, trans people get more murdered. You know,
that's the least of it. I mean, it's not the least of it. That's one aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yes, more trans people get murdered. And.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of things. Things are bad with the Democrats and they're worse with Trump. And I say Trump very specifically because he is a whole new story that we never understood before.
My point is, like, I guess I want to be very clear. I have a revolutionary spirit. Like, I spiritually am like, I live most of the time in a dimensional consciousness where none of this is happening and I'm just light beings and
Right.
they figured all this out. It's all nonsense, stupid. Yes, it needs to crumble. I also have a nervous system and live on Earth as a human where if we're going to blow it all apart, that is people. It's so cute. People think charming revolution. Okay, get ready then.
Yeah.
So point being, to me, it's like, that's how, okay, you know what? This comes back to the exact thing we've been talking about today, which is nobody can, let alone, I was going to say nobody wants to, but it's almost as if most people can't understand how bad it is. Remember I said that was the whole thing last night? People won't feel in their body how bad it is now or how bad it was then. Because they won't feel it and they can't, you can't change it.
Yeah.
People won't feel how bad the Trump situation is if he gets elected. I mean, now, let me be fair. I'm not saying all humans. There's plenty of people politically doing a lot of work to try to get us all to feel how bad it is.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of all the stuff on the media where they're going, it's bad, it's Putin bad, this is bad, please vote, please vote. Like, some people do get it, of course. But I'm saying the challenge we're up against with people, with voters is how many people won't own how bad it is. And the idea that, like, you're going to make a nuanced choice.
Yeah.
Should we elect Hitler or not? It's not time for nuance. First, get anyone else in there who's not about it. Then let's have some nuanced chats about other shit.
Yeah.
I just feel like I know that, like.
No. Oh, go ahead. I'll finish your thought.
I'm done. You get my point.
I do. Am I being devil's advocate? No, I think I'm speaking a thought that I think someone might speak if I have this one particular friend or person I know who is on like Instagram and stuff, and they're a super radical. Like, they're the ones who are boasting, are you fucking kidding me? She's a fucking cop. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. And I'm kind of done with them. I don't engage, but I just go, I can't care about what you're saying. And here's what I was going to say is, one might argue that I am now engaging in, I'm not willing to look at how bad it is. In a sense,
but
that energy, because I think some of these people are like, I know what it would look like to tear it all down. I'm willing to be in the streets.
I know.
I'm willing to live that Walking Dead life. Like, and it's true. I am not willing to fully embrace the problems of what a lot of these people that I am voting for have also done.
Yeah.
Because I can't. Because because the other side is so much worse that I have to fight against that. So there is, yes, I am putting on blinders in certain places in order to, it's, plug your nose and push the button.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, because of the to be perfectly practical, because the alternative is just worse, and there is only one alternative. That's where we're at.
Like, but I guess what I would say is exponentially worse, way worse.
Yeah.
So, I do want to say this. I think there's a way you can. Well, this has been a conversation that's been happening forever. I am not the first person to say this brilliant insight I'm about to say, which is not that brilliant, but the revolution, right? We would serve ourselves better if the revolution were to be trickled out. If the revolution if the whole structure has to change and fall, we would serve ourselves better, nervous system wise, survivalism wise, if we were to, I don't know practical examples of this, but like, just hit blue and then we're going to trickle it out. Now, I understand as I say that, I can already hear people pushing back. That's what we've been trying to do forever, right?
Yeah.
The argument is everybody's always trying to slowly change everything and it isn't changing. So we need a huge explosion of kill it all.
Yeah.
right? That's how revolutions happen. People get sick and tired of waiting for actual change in a slow, measured way. And it never comes and it never comes and it never comes. So people blow up the Capitol building or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Or maybe that's the wrong metaphor. People just, the structure gets destroyed in some other way, whatever it is. I'm just aware of what that does to the entire network of what, just the fabric of the reality we live in. Your life gets real hard when the entire fabric collapses. When there's no fabric at all,
Yeah.
your life gets rough. Now, what people would say in response to that is like, it's already rough. We're not privileged white ladies.
Yeah.
Who have a cushy life. My life is rough. So yeah, let's make it rougher.
Yeah.
Like that I hear and understand. And I don't have a good.
No, I'm resistant to that change because it would fuck my life. And
You're saying that?
Yeah, I'm saying that. I am resistant to that level of change.
Yeah.
Out of fear of the loss of my comfort.
Right. Totally. But I also think that is it's a little bit of a oversimplification that the far, 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 far left that we tend to make, like, oh, you're resistant to that change because you're afraid of the loss of your comfort. I think it's more than that. It's not just the loss of your comfort. It's the loss of a basic level of a sense of safety that, again, the folks who are pushing for revolution and burn it all and destroy it are already not feeling safe.
Right.
So they've got nothing to lose would be the perspective, right? Like,
yeah,
fucking, I got nothing. I don't care. I'm already unsafe. Fuck it all.
Yeah.
I still would say there's a way to take steps more gently toward things being better than, as opposed to just hit the Jenga pile with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
I don't, and then I understand the pain of moving slowly.
Yeah.
It's very painful. It's terrifying. It's, what's that phrase? Death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's hard and difficult and bad and almost intolerable. But when you look at, if I just take a bat to the whole thing, that's not good either.
Well, let's go to your thing of your fire hose of light turned out not to be the right healing methodology.
It's, you know what it is? It's not the most integrated, thorough, specific, empowering way forward.
Right.
Works really well for some people sometimes, but it doesn't work thoroughly and specifically for more people.
Right.
So you got to confront that if you're me. Yeah. So metaphorically.
Katie, how do we not solve the problems of the socio-political system in our 1 hour of, how do we?
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, that's funny, obviously, but also I have a reductive, there is a simple solution. It's just not easy, like everything else. There's always a simple solution, and it's all the same solution. It's just not a thing people are going to do.
Right.
Okay, this is challenging. Surprise, surprise. Let me just take a breath and kind of, okay, in a utopian version of reality, in my utopian version of reality, what would happen is, let's use the political party system as a structure within which to talk about this concept. If all the people supporting Trump would, and Trump itself, would face their pain.
Yes.
And become integrated.
Yeah.
Inside themselves, they would have room to explore a more nuanced way forward.
Yep.
Here comes more challenge. If all the people on our side of the fence would face their pain and their fear, every piece of fear, your fear is real. Your pain is real. Your grief is real. Now, if we were to each take all the hours of the day that we don't have to focus on, feel into, process and integrate all that fear and pain, we would be functioning from a different place inside ourselves that would then allow for a more nuanced way forward. In other words, you would see new options you can't see from here. The collective can't see nuanced options forward because no one will be with their pain.
Right. And then the challenge is I can be with my pain, but if
you're not going to be.
Let's say I'm locked in a room with a madman.
Right.
And
I know where you're going.
If the madman doesn't sit and meditate, he's just going to murder me while I sit and meditate.
Yeah, I better pick up a rock and be ready to kill him. That's right. That's right.
So we both have to agree, and that's the and this is not a new thought either, obviously, but that's the ongoing frustration of all of it. Is like, it is kind of how India got free, was through passive, nonviolent passive resistance,
yeah.
Which is a sort of a version of that.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, a lot of people had to get badly beaten.
Yep.
And murdered and killed and be willing to sit while it happened.
Right.
Until the person doing the beating went, I'm beating a person who's not resisting and I can't anymore. And they finally stopped.
Wow.
But that.
Right. But if you think about what's woven into the fabric of that culture, is spirituality.
Right.
People go, meditation is a thing. I'll just be peace
Right.
pacifists. We don't even have, that's not, maybe you would get some yoga people being like, let's do yoga at this.
Right. And now India's got some gnarly hard right bullshit going on, but
right.
But that's a different question. But the point of it, at least in that moment, it's
even an option. It's an option for them to do passive resistance because it's in their culture.
Well, and we did. There was a lot of that in the civil rights movement too. That was
sure,
and it did work.
Yep.
And it's just hard to think about doing it now as showing up with light when the thing you're showing up to work with refuses to in any way.
Right.
And that makes it really hard. So yeah, just going to what you said, like, if they would face their pain and get integrated, it would get good. And if we would face our pain and get integrated, that would be great. But we all need to show up and face our pain and be integrated.
Right.
If only half of us do, it'll be a little better.
Well, like you said, while we're busy integrating, they may just burn our houses down.
Yeah.
And we won't have picked up the fire hose to fight back.
On that happy note.
Hey, what's up? It's Rami. I am standing here on the edge of a cliff overlooking this beautiful valley in Slovenia, eating my morning bowl of fruit and muesli and oat milk, which I have beautifully curated. It is a perfect combination of flavors. And I'm standing, not sitting, because everything is wet, and it's wet because last night was a crazy thunder and lightning storm. At 12:30 in the morning, and I'd already been asleep for about an hour, maybe at that point, I was awoken by the scariest, loudest thunderclap I've ever heard in my life. It sounded like a bomb went off next door, and it was really scary. There were a few more that were almost as loud as that, but I've never heard anything like that in my life. And lots of rain, of course, and thunder and lightning all night long. And now it's not raining, it's just wet. So I'm standing and I'm eating and I'm listening to an audiobook of a friend of mine's memoir that was just published. And I'm going to say the title. It's called Another Word for Love. And the author is Carvel Wallace. He lives at the Chateau L'Orange, the house in Oakland that you've heard about on the podcast. And many of the Chateaulites have been guests on the podcast, including Carvel. And he is an incredible person, amazing writer, also a great actor, although he's not doing that at this time in his life. But he did read his own audiobook. And because he is also a good actor, his audiobook is really well done and just beautiful to listen to. So I chose that instead of reading the book. Although, who am I kidding? How often do I read books right now? And I got to a section that made me start to cry, not because it was a sad section, which also exists in this memoir, but because it was just so beautifully stated and so poignant. And so I started to cry while eating my bowl of muesli. And so I stopped eating my bowl of muesli because I made a promise to myself once. I made a rule for myself back when I was living in Paris and about to move home prematurely because my mom was diagnosed with colon cancer and was actually pretty far along. And I was in the apartment that I shared with my love, whose name is Lou, who is not currently my love, but still exists. That's why I didn't use the past tense when I talked about her. Anyway, it was the middle of the night. I was leaving. I had just found out that my mom had cancer and that I was going to go home. I should say that for a week, she said, don't come. She had a surgery so that she had a colostomy bag. She's like, don't come. I'm still coming. So we had plans. She was going to meet me in Europe. We were going to go to Spain together. And we had these plans, right? And she said, don't come back here. I'm still coming, despite the colostomy bag or whatever, which people can still totally live lives with. She's like, don't come home. I'm still coming. So I called her every day for a week. And it wasn't a week. That's so funny. It was just like a weekend. It was just a few days, but it felt like a week. So I called her and talked to her every day for like a long weekend. And every day she said, don't come. I'm still coming to Spain. And then on the last day I said, hey, how about if I come home? We can go to Spain another time. And then I immediately got a plane ticket and came home. We never went to Spain because what happened was I became her full-time caregiver with lots of help from Cassidy and other people like my dad, who they had divorced before I was born, but they were still very much in each other's lives. Shout out to non-traditional relationships, y'all. Anyway, but I became her full-time caregiver for 1.5 years and then she passed away. So we never went to Spain. Anyway, so on that night in Paris, I was in the apartment with my love, Lou, and I was vomiting all night and crying. And I didn't think it was about my mom. I thought it was about leaving Lou and leaving Paris, my other love. I was in a triad, a 3-person relationship, me, Lou, and the city of Paris. And I have a system that never vomits. My body just doesn't vomit. No matter how sick I am, I usually, like a stomach flu, whatever, I usually have to just wait for it to go out the other end. My system does not want to throw up, but that night I was just vomiting all night and crying on the floor with Lou. And then, like, I remember at one point, I know that doesn't make sense with the vomiting, but at some point I was eating. Maybe I was crying and eating and before I was, I don't know how that works with the vomiting. Anyway, I have this memory of crying and eating and maybe fighting with Lou. And she's not fighting with her, but struggling with just the whole everything. And her saying, why are you still eating, while I was crying? And that was when I thought about it and decided that I was going to have a rule to never eat while actively crying, which is a very simple rule. Very simple. And then I expanded it to include don't eat while you're choked up even. Like feel the feeling separate, eat separate. Simple rule. Anyway, so here I was getting choked up listening to Carvel's audiobook. I'm going to say the name again because it's so wonderful. Another Word for Love. And I was getting choked up while taking a big bite of nectarine, apricot, banana, muesli, oat milk, and pumpkin seeds. And so I stopped eating. Rami's rules.
I was gonna.
Please do.
I want to pull cards.
I was going to suggest the same thing. So
nice.
Good.
Okay, great. I want to use my complex deck. It's deeper teachings. And I think I want to do a 3-card spread for the collective,
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
because there's something I'm wanting to talk about and I can't figure out how to talk about it in a anonymous way. I'll have to come back to that. All right, I'm going to hop into the records of the collective. Pray for me.
Have fun.
I'm going to do this out loud. By the way, I just want to re-welcome all of our new listeners. Thank you for being here and listening. I've heard from a couple people lately that they're new, and a lot of that is because of Rami's amazingness, bringing people in. Thank you, Rami.
Yeah.
And just welcome here, new listeners. Don't forget to listen to Space Tampon. And what was the devil one? The demon breath.
Demon breath. That's
Demon
one of
breath
my
is a good
favorites.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Space tampons and demon breath. Those are my 2
Good shit.
death metal bands.
Exactly. All right. And so feel free to I don't recommend people hop into the records of the collective. It's not such a stable place to be. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light. You can just enjoy hearing me say words, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. Holy Spirit of divine light, protect me, please, from all forms of self-centeredness and direct my attention to the work at hand. Help me to know the collective of humanity in the light of the Akashic records. Help me to see humanity's collective consciousness through the eyes of the lords of the records. And enable me, please, to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of the collective of humanity have for it. And I'll go quiet for just a moment. I'm asking you to make this as gentle on me as possible. Thank you. Okay, so we'd love to see a 3-card spread that speaks to the recent past, the present moment, and the coming future of the collective of humanity. And perhaps I could speak a little bit to the energies I'm aware of as I sit into this. Oh my God. Let me get the cards first. All right. Okay. First things first. Boy. I'm just going to describe a little bit the energy of what it feels like to be in the Akashic records of the collective of humanity, which is, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but it's very much the head is cut off from the body and all my energy is brought up into this sphere of my head. And there's all of this swirling density in the headspace. All these debates back and forth, conversation back and forth, thinking, figuring out, head. And they show it to me like there's a thing that will happen for individual people in healing sessions where, there can be like a moment where the last bastion of trauma that has been keeping a human being caught in their mind and keeping them from having an integrated connection to themselves below the neck changes. That last piece of trauma processes and they cry in that session, and the pain of living away from ourselves, living disconnected from the depths of what's available to us in our bodies and our hearts goes away, processes, integrates. And I have the pleasure of getting to watch someone drop in. They go thump into themselves after a long amount of years not having been there. Humanity, the collective consciousness is hold on, let me get the right words here. I just keep checking to be clear, is on the brink of that for itself. The collective is on the brink of dropping in. The question is, what is it going to take for they show it to me metaphorically like a helmet, like an upside down goldfish bowl on the head of humanity. What's it going to take to shatter that goldfish bowl? Or they show it to me more like dissolve the goldfish bowl so that there's no tight ring around the neck anymore, creating the blockage between the head and the heart, the head and the body. And what I hear is it's happening now. So hang on to your hats, but actually let go of your hat because it's already happening. And those who, won't dissolve the grasp on the throat, it'll take you out. People die. And we're talking about here people in real deep denial of any problem existing at all. People in real, I want things to stay the same. That'll be challenging for those people. Okay. Anyway, so that's that. Anything you want to ask about that, Cass, before I go to the cards or talk about or say? It's
No,
okay. I'm just
no,
opening the door.
no, thank you. I'm thinking.
Okay. So there's that. And then we have these 3 cards here. So the recent past card is the Oracle of Delphi, which I can show to you. Let's see. Nope. Hold on. Let me unblur.
Oh, very nice.
So it's a woman who is an oracle sitting on a high chair, and there's a priest next to her interpreting what she's getting. We'll come back to that. The present moment is the Queen of Scrolls. Very interesting. And the outcome is 6 of Keys, the increscent moon. Okay. And so let's talk about what this all means. It's interesting that the recent past is card number 1 in this deck, the very first card in the entire deck, the Oracle of Delphi. The Pythia, or the priestess at Delphi, sits upon a high 3-legged seat. Interesting, 3-legged seat.
Oh, yeah.
Steam gently rises from a small fissure in the ground. Nearby, a robed priest prepares to write upon an open scroll. While the Pythia physically receives the perceptions from Apollo, it is the priest who interprets her pronouncements. In this, we see the 2 important keys in psychic experience: perception and interpretation. When you receive this card, you're in a time of great insight and psychic power. Even if you don't recognize it yet, it lies very close to your consciousness because you have used this gift in so many past lives. You may get images or feelings without knowing how to interpret them. Take notes as you practice both your psychic perceptions and their interpretations. Just as they gave the Oracle of Delphi a profound awareness, your psychic perceptions and their interpretations give you a powerful insight and an Akashic vision of the world. That's the recent past. So it's talking about, there's a lot here. Something that human beings on both sides of the, let's talk about, for the sake of having something to talk about, political spectrum, struggle with, is the future they see through the lens of fear and the future they see through the lens of love. It's important to understand that the future we see through the lens of fear is being interpreted. You are interpreting a future picture based on a present moment. And so this is a call. This has been a call in the recent past for us all to look at what we see in reality and going forward in the future and the lens through which we're seeing it, aka how we're interpreting what we see. Does this make sense?
I think so.
Okay, we'll come back to it. The present moment is the Queen of Scrolls.
Wait, will you hold the Queen of Scrolls up again? I'm just taking some screenshots so we have pictures. Got it.
And then you got this guy?
Let me just do it again. Do them all at once. Great. And boom. There. Got it.
Present moment, Queen of Scrolls. A beautiful woman holds a scroll as she stands in front of a sunlit archway. Around her swirls the energy of wisdom, knowledge, and Akashic truth. When this card appears upright, she brings important information and inspiration to you. The Queen of Scrolls is a woman of higher mind whom you may already know or have yet to meet. Her purpose is to help you move through the entryway to a new level of wisdom and understanding. She could be a teacher to you in some way or offer a friendship that could develop into deeper love. This woman could be helpful to you in some project requiring communication. She may be an author, a marketer, or a publisher. If you're a writer, she may be someone who assists you in getting published. The Queen of Scrolls could also represent you or a woman in your life getting a position in a field related to communication or academics, such as counseling, teaching, marketing, or publishing. This card indicates a phase of deepening understanding and readiness to learn. It's the perfect time for personal growth and expansive learning, whether it's mind, body, or spirit-centered. Open the mysteries that are hidden in the Akashic Scrolls and step through the door of knowledge. So this is about, we're in present moment, a time of an opportunity to learn and to step into our wisdom. The outcome, very interesting, very grounded, specific human stuff here, is a guy, he's working on a sculpture next to an open window with an increscent moon outside the window over a harbor of water. This is the 6 of Keys. A man works diligently sculpting a bust in his workroom. Behind him is a large window that overlooks the rolling hills of a harbor city. The moon in the sky points left. growing too full. It's called the increscent moon. The waxing moon on the card shows an exciting time of increase, abundance, and growth. Your efforts have combined with external circumstances, and even the stars have aligned. If things have been financially tight for you recently, relax. There's a great opportunity for increase and fulfillment in every way, financially, creatively, even in your reputation and prestige. So just do your work and get ready to receive. Do your work.
Do your work.
That's our catchphrase. So what we have here is you've been having awarenesses, but you've got to look at society, the collective, how you interpret them. Presently, we're in a moment where we can step into a lot of wisdom, and we're going to get some support on a practical level, publisher, manager, metaphoric level of support. If we choose to step into wisdom, the outcome is abundance. It's a pretty positive spread.
That's pretty nice. Maybe it's, interesting. Yeah, that's a pretty straightforward one. It seemed to map to what we've been talking about, too. It pretty clearly mapped to the whole, like, if we all just choose to get conscious, we could.
It's good for me. It's good for me to hear because, again, I keep owning. I hope I'm owning it enough and loud enough that, like, I'm taking a cynical point of view. Like, I have a cynical point of view. Like,
yeah.
People aren't gonna. People never do. People rarely do. Like, cynical.
Yeah.
I get it. All right, I need to close these records. I want to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion, the lords of the records for their point of view, and the Holy Spirit of light for all knowledge and healing. I ask that you return the collective consciousness to itself of all humanity. I ask that you return the energy of the collective to itself now. The divine portal and the...
Sorry, I don't understand.
Siri started... I wasn't talking to you.
And Siri doesn't understand. That's what she's saying.
She sure doesn't.
That was deep.
She's a machine. All right, I gotta finish. I want to thank the masters. Hold on, I gotta hold on. Return the collective's energy to itself. Return the collective's energy to itself. The divine portal and the Akashic records of humanity's collective consciousness are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records of humanity's consciousness itself are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records of the collective conscious and unconsciousness of humanity are now closed. Amen. Very cool.
Huh.
That was very hopeful.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice in the face of the sort of darkening skies that we spent our time debating.
Talking through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Good shit.
Well, have fun in Seattle. Are you just there for fun?
Yeah, we put a vacation on the books months ago before we bought a house. So we bought a house and it was like, we're supposed to close on the 31st. Anyway, the timing is weird because it would be nice to be there and make things simple, but it's also all going to be fine. It's just...
I don't know if we said it on the podcast. You bought a house.
Oh, so we bought a house.
We talked about the search. I don't remember if we talked about the actual
it would be fun.
Achievement.
Next time we should talk about it because there's cool numerology stuff with the address of the house that I want to get into.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm excited about that conversation. Let's do it. Have just fun and go Space Needle or whatever you're supposed to do in Seattle.
Doing it.
Visit my friend George. Whatever you're supposed to do in Seattle.
Done.
Do it.
Love you.
Fucking do it.
Do your work.
All right.
Love you.
Do your work. Have a fantastic.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.
They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face. What is a boy to do